Oh man, welcome to the Leadership Table, where conversations inspire, lead, and elevate. I'm your host, Jason E. Brooks, bringing you insights from top leaders who are shaping industries through leadership, culture, and success. And today, we're joined by my man, Simon Zatyrka, a chef turned consultant and the founder of Culinary Mechanic. Simon's journey from a 16-year-old Garnish guy to leading multiple high-volume restaurants and now advising culinary operations is nothing short of inspiring. Through Culinary Mechanic, he focuses on the human aspects of running restaurants, emphasizing leadership, systems, and culture. Before we dive in, be sure to subscribe and share this episode with fellow leaders who could benefit from today's discussion. Simon, welcome to the Leadership Table, my man. We have traveled together. We've been doing shows. We have had bourbon and wings, appetizers, and great conversation. And now I get the pleasure of having you on my podcast. Thank you, sir.
Oh, man, the pleasure is mine. Thank you, Jason. I just got to say, you said Garnish guy.
Yeah, I put a little sprinkle in there.
No, man. Lettuce, tomato, cheese, olive. Lettuce, tomato, cheese, olive. That was. And if it's fajitas, lettuce, tomato, cheese, olive, scoop of guac, scoop of sour, scoop of pico. That was my life for a year.
That is it. The Disher scoops. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All day long.
So, you are well known in the culinary space, but I want you to give my listeners a brief introduction about your journey from your first job through the kitchen into Culinary Mechanic.
Man, I started being the Garnish guy at 16 in 1989. I tell people that was when the first George Bush was still in office. And I did a year of that, and then I said, okay, I'm going to college, and I had really good grades. I'm like the nerdy kid, right? 3.93, I think. And I went to the University of Massachusetts, and instantly I could feel it. I was like, these are not my fucking people. Pardon me for swearing right out the gate, but it is what it is. These are not my people. And so I looked around and I thought long and hard about what it is I was enjoying in life, and nothing made me happier than when I was done with my studies and all those things. In mathematics, by the way, that was my initial major. And when I was done with that, I got to go cook in the evenings and on the weekends, and I was at my most alive. So I said, all right, I'm going to quit school and I'm going to cook. And I just went on this journey of cooking. I was cooking in the morning. I was cooking at night. On occasion, I was cooking third shift. And I was trying not to do all three at once, but sometimes it happened. And just roll through that. I went through like little dinky tiny restaurants, and all of a sudden I found hotel restaurants where they wore chef coats. I was like, oh shit, look at this. Paper hats, the whole bit. And then hotel. Okay, cool, hotel. And then I was in New Mexico at the time when I first started, and then all of a sudden I said, nope, I'm going to do something different. And I hustled my ass to Florida, and I found myself in, where was I? I was in Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, which is right on the outside of Tampa Bay. And I got myself into a little tiny restaurant within a day of being there. That lasted 6 weeks because they were a little tiny restaurant, and I just had bigger thoughts. So I went to the Sheraton that was there, and I did that. And then I got an opportunity to be the chef in a restaurant in the Chef. I was nowhere near the Chef. I was 23 years old, and I went to Provincetown, Mass, and I was the chef for a summer. And it taught me everything I needed to know that I was not the chef yet. And so I said, okay, take it easy, go back to Florida, go back to cooking. And I just kept on, and I was reading, and I was reading magazines, and I was reading books, and I just decided that I was going to create my own curriculum because I wasn't in the position to take myself to culinary school. So I was going to have to find a way to just do the thing. Let's see. And then I went to California, and I found myself cooking for Four Seasons, and then a Relais and Chateau property that was like where JFK spent his honeymoon. And then I found myself in LA, and I was working for the Patina Group, which is now this massive entity on both coasts. But at the time, there were 26 restaurants, and they were growing at an exponential pace. And it was grindy, and it was hot, and it was the kitchens that everybody that watches The Bear like has nightmares about now. You know, like shit getting thrown, yelling, screaming. And the remarkable part about that was that that was for a company, not a single restaurant. But we still had in 2003 that atmosphere of fear. Um, and then keep going a couple of years, big properties, you know, high end hotels, and just doing crushing. I was like an ox. I felt I was putting on the yoke, and I was getting bigger roles, and I was doing more, and I was getting great results. And fast forward a couple of years, and I go for this one job, and the lady says, "You know, I hear great things about you. You're amazing. You're a doer. You you get stuff done." She says, "But I'm not going to hire you for this job because you're not the leader that I'm looking for." And that crushed
Mm.
me. And from that day forward, I really started paying attention. I mean, I came home and I was weeping a little bit, and my wife looks at me and she goes, "Okay." Next day, she comes home and she flips leadership for dummies at me. And then the next day, like 2 days after that, she flips Maxwell's little leadership 101 at me. Boom. She goes, "You're not a leader? Figure it out. Read it. Like, ask questions." Okay. And that began the next journey. It was just leading, leading, leading. And I was like, it was okay, you know. And then I worked for a guy. No, I'm sorry. This guy worked for me. And it changed everything one day when I said, "Hey, we need a new saute cook because we're taking the saute cook, putting him on the grill because we just lost the grill guy. Can that dishwasher back? Do you think he has the? Do you think he could do it?" And the lead cook goes, "Of course he can do it." And I said, "Yeah, but this is a hard." He says, "No, Hefe, you have to believe only in their desire." He says, "I can teach them the rest. You can teach them the rest." He says, "But if you believe in their desire to get the job done and to learn, then everything will be okay." And that really changed things. And it holds the big piece of the back of my head is desire, and in Spanish it's ganas, right? It's right in the fire in the belly. Okay, still moving forward. All of us go forward another 15 years, and I've hit a place where I cannot be in the kitchen anymore. I've become a leader who farms sous chefs like green beans, baby. Like, I got sous chefs coming up in the company I'm working for. I'm just before I left the industry, I had 4 restaurants under my finger, and we were just growing. And you know, we would look at cooks and say, he or she is ready to be a lead cook. The lead cook, that one's ready to be a sous chef. That one's ready to be a sous chef in a big store. And just on and on and on. We just kept growing and growing and developing. And then I got to the end, and I realized that I didn't want to do that anymore. The company I was working for wasn't as much fun as it had been. I think COVID had a lot to do with that. And then my wife said, "You need to stop, and you need to think about how you can make money some other way that keeps you closer to home, that doesn't make you less, make it so that you're not fun when you're not working, because you used to be fun." And I tolerate, she's just like, "I tolerated the fact that you were driven and hardworking because you came home and we had a good time. But now you come home and you're grumpy and you're tired and sometimes you're depressed." She says, "So fuck all that. Let's find something new." So I listened because she's the boss. And I took 4 months off, and this magic thing started happening. The phone started ringing. "Hey, Simon, can you go help this guy with a project? He needs a menu costed. And there's probably other stuff to dig into, but can you go do that? Yeah, I'd really appreciate it." "Yes, I can." 2 months later, "Hey, completely different person. Hey, I just got a call from this guy. He's got a nonprofit organization, and they just need some technical help. Can you just go help them dig out of their hole? I'm like, yes, I can. Boom. 2 months later, I get a text from one of the guys who used to work for me and then became the guy who took over my spot when I left the company. And he goes, I just got a call from somebody who I really trust and admire, and she needs some leadership help for her chefs. Can you go help with that? And I was like, yeah. And now I've got 3 clients. I'm a consultant, and I'm looking around going, oh, I guess I'm consulting. And the Culinary Mechanic thing had been almost a joke 10 years previous. It was the product of me not feeling like the job was sexy anymore, right? Like I didn't have fun creating. It was just take it apart, put it back together, tune it up, move, right? And that was day in, day out. And I'm like, I'm just a culinary mechanic. And then one day, as many things happen, I'm walking the dogs, and I'm like, I need a name for this, for my company. I need to do an LLC. I'm going to do a thing. I'm a consultant. Culinary Mechanic is the way. And that's it, man. That's where I am. And now I really focus on helping chefs and restaurant owners, sometimes separately, sometimes together, hone in on their operations. Um, it almost always comes down to applying some leadership principles, which is why this is such a fun conversation to have with you. And it's leadership. It's trying to create some great culture. Uh, Lately, I've been saying what we're gonna do is create the way. And if your restaurant is called Jimmy's, then it's Jimmy's way. We want that to exist, and we want that to sort of live in perpetuity. And that's where I'm at, man. That's what I'm doing.
You know,
0 to 100.
you have said it many times, and I know it's true, but everyone loves that logo. That logo of the knife with the fork. Is that correct?
Knife and a spoon.
Spoon.
Knife and a
Man, I
spoon.
screwed
That's
that up.
okay. And it's
Knife
inside a
with the
gear.
spoon and the gear behind it, around it. That right there says everything. And then the taste everything mantra that you also have is very true. I don't care if it's a fast casual brand, quick service, fine dining. You taste everything, and you taste it at every line check, at every single line check, because during peak volume, that pan may have changed out 3 times. On that next line check, you still taste everything. Now,
Yes, sir.
of course, though, this isn't the tasting table. This is the leadership table. So I want to dive into a bit more about your leadership lessons that you've learned. Having led teams in high pressure kitchens from what? Arizona, New Mexico, Florida, all the way up to the Northeast,
Massachusetts.
to
Yeah.
Massachusetts, back down to Florida, back across to California, I do
Yeah.
believe.
Santa Barbara,
You have
California, Los Angeles, Oakland, and now
you
Seattle.
have been across the nation. So with those travels, so what key leadership lessons have you learned that apply across the hospitality industry, whether be it fine dining, large groups, small mom and pops, or even hotels? What key leadership lessons have you learned that can apply across all of those?
I think there's a couple of them, but for me, the number one lesson that I've learned is as the leader, instead of trying to be the loudest guy in the room and kind of barging in and going, here's the solution, like stop, listen, and begin by asking more questions than you make statements. And I go for like 4 questions to 3 statements. And if I can pull that off, I almost always come out with great consensus, and solutions that like people are into, because I've taken the time to pay attention and be aware of my surroundings and listen. And that's the second lesson right there for me is pay attention, like head up, like look around. If you're the leader, you shouldn't be head down. You should be head up, paying attention to the forest, the trees, the rocks on the ground, right? Like, be aware of your surroundings. And I find that when I work with people and I get them to slow down so that they can eventually go faster than they have ever gone before, we really talk about like chin up, pay attention. And that's my big one, right, man? Right now, man.
You definitely nailed it. Even whenever I walk people through a session that I call closing the gap, I talk through when you think about the average restaurant leader, we are in a high-paced environment. We are always solving issues from things that have gone on. We may be rushing into a location, our location. We're trying to help knock down the line, get the kitchen from being backed up, help out on expo, knock out a truck order, knock out some payroll. And then all of a sudden our heart rate is up there. And then we go to walk the dining room floor, but our heart rate is very different than our customer. The customer, when you really think about what they go through as they walk into our establishment, their heart rate has slowed down. They are in a much darker environment. When they're sitting at the table, looking at their meal that finally came out, it's about 18 inches from their eyes. That view from 18 inches pulls in more detail. After they're finished staring at their meal, making sure that it is correct, they then begin eating. They then lift their chin up. They start viewing left to right slowly. That detail that they've gotten from that 18 inches now extends out about 3 to 5 feet to the detail that's on the walls, the details that's on the booths, the details that's on the chairs. The gap is when we're walking through with that heart rate pumping, because we're all over the place in which that's how we're trained to, but that's a different view from the customer. So going through that exercise of closing the gap for the operators to understand what the customer sees versus what they see, although they're in the same room, is something that really does help them. But you are absolutely spot on though. Now, your experience, there are common operational challenges that restaurants face similar to closing the gap. What are some of the common challenges that you've also seen in different type of restaurants, and then how can they be addressed effectively?
Common problems. There's not enough recipes getting used, right?
Mm.
That's kind of like we can just push that one to the side and we could always come back to it. But I think for me the big problem in especially back of house, but definitely restaurants, is we have doers and they're great doers, right? These are people that are like they show up on time for work, they're into their job, they want to do more, they might even want to make a little more money. And like a supervisor position comes up and oftentimes it's like, ooh, me, pick me, or sometimes you got to root through it and find that one that's good. And more often than not, unfortunately, we throw them in there, we hand them some keys and go, it's your shift, run it. Right? And worse than that
Good
is we
luck.
take them. Yeah, man. Like I've had that happen to me. Like, here's your key, bro. I'll be here at 8 a.m. because they'll be here at 8:30 a.m. Okay. You know, or even worse than that is lock up, but whatever. And so we sometimes it goes okay. Sometimes there's training, sometimes there's not. But the big overarching, like almost universal problem is we have people who are now supposed to be in these leadership positions that, yeah, sometimes they've got good role models, sometimes they've got training, but more often than not, we have leaders who don't know how to lead. I mean, that's like partially why you have a business. It's partially why I have a business, but it's that. It's like, and I get it. It's hard for an independent operator to like say, okay, we're gonna train you to lead, but man, that's just everywhere. And so we get toxic environments. I feel like we might get incrementally fewer toxic environments nowadays because it's less socially acceptable to be a freak and yell at people and scream at people. Um, but I know they're still out there. I just heard a story the other day about a guy here in Seattle who, he just lost his shit on his team. And I was like, man, it's 2025, dog. Get up, wake up. Like, come on, you can do it. Here comes the future. It's gonna smack you in the face. So, yeah, those are my two big ones, man.
I gotta say, especially that recipes one, that is so important. I cannot agree more with the leadership, but even going back to the recipes, even like I'm probably home when I don't travel a lot. I try to cook at least 4 to 6 days per week. And I've been doing this. My oldest is 30, youngest is 17, have a middle that is 26 years old. And I'm cooking for them from day one. I mean, from day one, I'm definitely known as the chef that is in the house. And there's times that I've made dishes, probably 30 times within the year, twice per month, on some dishes, maybe a bit more. And I will always still, 30 years later, follow the recipe. It drives them crazy. And they're like, why? You've made this dish, I swear, 300 times, if not 500 times. Why do you still either look at your phone or print out a piece of paper and go by the recipe? You should know this. And I'm like, it's because I'm human too. I will have bills on my mind. I will have everything else work, whatever that's on my mind. And at the wrong moment, I will forget something and you will taste it and you will say, what did you do, Dad? It doesn't taste the same.
Tastes like last time, yeah.
It doesn't taste like last time. And that's why I always follow and use a recipe. It is important. Now, it sounds like you've had a lot of mentors teach you things like that. So I know you have definitely emphasized the importance of mentorship in your career. Can you tell us how mentorship has shaped your leadership style now?
I think, well, first of all, I am one of those people, like, I suffer from shiny object syndrome. Like, squirrel, fuck, I'm gone, man. So for me, like, mentorship oftentimes meant like a quiet 10 minutes at the end of the shift, talking one-on-one, where like I gotta focus. And for me, that's really important. Like, I had one chef who would just scream at me, focus, focus. And when you're done with that, focus. And yes, chef, okay, I got it. And so I think for me, like, having somebody that listened to what was freaking me out on a daily basis, or somebody that was paying attention to how I was working and could then kind of give me that like little Jiminy Cricket on the shoulder going, you're doing that really the hard way, man. And so I think those mentors for me, but also like the ones I worked with, guys and I worked with this one chef, and she was so, I don't think I thought of her as a mentor at the time, but when I think back to what I learned from her, and here is the moment. She looks at me and she goes, "Do you have this? Oh no, do you have this on the grill? No. Do you have this on the grill? No. Do you have this, or this on the grill?" I'm like, "No, I'm behind." And she goes, "Okay." And she goes, "Well, fucking get on behind, because I need you to get there." And so okay, adrenaline starts pumping, and all of a sudden, boom, I'm caught up. And afterwards, she goes, "Come on, I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette, and you can get some secondhand smoke." And we go out the back door, and she goes, "You know what? When push comes to shove, you are one of the best at getting out of trouble." She says, "But I need you to get organized and focused enough that you don't get into trouble." And that changed me once again, like just shifted me 5 degrees to where I went on this path of like, how do I get more organized? How do I get so tight and clean that someday somebody's going to call me like the Iceman because I'm cold and I'm calculated and I'm operating, right? Like that was the goal for years. Is just get to be Iceman, and I never got there. I worked for a couple of guys like that, but I know that I became more clean, more organized, more focused, and I stopped having to scramble to get out of things, right? In the end, I created processes for myself. I created systems for myself on how I was going to organize myself. Didn't know it at the time. All I wanted to do was like have that lady not like kick me in the shins anymore. But that was some great mentoring. And for me now, it's like, okay, you're going to climb the tree and I'm going to tell you that that's going to hurt when you fall out of the tree, but I'm still going to let you fall out of the tree. I might have a net for you. And I think that's a lot of the way I try to go about working with chefs and restaurateurs right now. It's like, here, I've done this for a long time. This is the next three things that are about to happen if you keep doing what you're doing. And it's like one, it's two, it's three, and nothing is better and worse all at the same time than getting that phone call or that text that goes, you know how you said this was going to happen? It happened. I'm like, yes. Yes. I'm sorry. I'm not a soothsayer, but I mean, this is the way things are. Like, there's only so many variables in the restaurant business. Shit's going
I
to
mean,
happen.
even if you think about everything you all just said, it's not only mentorship. It also help. It helps to drive culture. It helps to build that culture of the people like us do things like this. We don't focus on being the best at getting out of trouble. We focus on being the best of never getting into trouble. We focus on staying clean. We focus on mise en place. We focus on whatever that the culture is. But that culture piece coming from the mentorship is crucial for any organization. So, how do you approach cultivating a positive and productive kitchen culture? Because it's been known for several decades, if not millennia, of kitchens are rough. It's rough and tough, and you get fussed at, and things get thrown at you. But as you said, even from the person that's in Seattle that is known for blowing up on their team, positive and more productive kitchen cultures today are really what drives that productivity. So, how do you approach cultivating that?
You're going to laugh at me. I have three C's for this:
Receive.
communication, communication, and communication.
Tell me about the second one, not the first one.
Okay. I honestly think that, you know, reading the room and communicating in the appropriate manner, right? Like if somebody is breaking down, like you got to stop, slow down, and give them a moment, and you got to be close to their space, you know. But I think that really working on communication, and I always remember that communication is two sides, right? Somebody's got to say it, and somebody's got to hear it. And I
Mm.
think if you say it and somebody else doesn't hear it, that can really be the person who's saying it's fault. But like, pay attention. Once again, like, pay attention to what that person is maybe going through or the day they're having, and be present in the moment enough to communicate in the way that is necessary. So that's the second C for me. you know. Um, it's funny,
How
people
about the
laugh at me all
first
the
C
time when I
then?
say three C's, but I'm like, it's
How
true,
about the
man.
first C then?
Over communicate. Over
Yes.
communicate. I tell
Yeah.
people like, what's the best example? Okay, Mr. Front of House Manager, I'm the chef and I'm down two people. And it's going to be a rough one, but guess what? Nobody's better at being in the weeds than me. Nobody's better at handling rough, and so I got the prep guy who's going to work salads because he's worked salads a couple times, and I'm going to work the grill, and we are going to get through it. But here's what I need you to do: I need you to make sure that everybody on the front of the house is aware that we're down and we're a little bit hobbled, and so let's pay attention. Let's guide our guests to the items that really are on that saute station. Let's keep them like, let's not be like pushing the salads today. This is a great day for pastas. This is a great day for the things that will help us get through a little bit easier. And the product of that conversation is that the manager on the other side knows what's happening. The team on the other side now has some good focused orders or direction on how they can help me, right? And meanwhile, everybody knows we're hobbled and we're going to do our best. But like, this is what it is. So over communication, you know, and I think when I've done that is when I've been most successful in my journey to take care of restaurants and help them really like help businesses grow. You know, so over
Could
communicate.
not agree more, especially with all three C's. It even when you think about school teachers, do we think that even with eighth graders and ninth graders that they've been in school for 8, 9 years now, and the teacher tells them on day one what the rules are? Do you think that they stop on day two, or week three, or month four? Nope. They will still, at the beginning of class, probably say some of the exact same things that they said or that they've heard for the last 8 years. So just because you say it once doesn't mean that it's stuck. Over communicate. I love that aspect. We are going to shift gears into some of the more signature questions that I ask all of my guests. First one. And first, are you ready?
I am so ready.
You were born ready. Now, if you could sit at a round table with three other leaders, alive or from history, who would you choose and why?
Oof. This is a hard question. But I got some fun ones for you. Number one, Phil Jackson, the coach from the NBA. Okay, and here's why. This is a guy who, in the realm of the Chicago Bulls, took one of the, if not the greatest player, one of the greatest players, and created a system that worked to not only make him stronger, but also found a way that he could have the whole team be involved. And that triangle offense was all about that big word again, awareness. It was heads up, and when the game changes, we change. If they go 30 degrees, we go 30 degrees. And it was all about a shifting head on a swivel offense that really dominated, right? But then you go forward into the Lakers time, and he was able to take two titans of basketball that really didn't seem to like each other at the beginning and made them work together. And like they did amazing. Like Shaq and Kobe were like stunning to watch together, absolutely
Yes.
stunning. So for me, a lot of like he has a book called Sacred Hoops, and that thing I've read like
Mm.
7 times, and I honestly like go read that book if you haven't read it because an amazing, truly like in current jargon, it is a masterclass in focusing on your environment and really like finding ways to take reactiveness and making it proactive. Um, Number two, and this is a weird one, but I love it. Lyndon Baines Johnson. This is a politician who was known throughout his entire career as being the most prepared, the most studied. This guy had note cards on everybody, man. Like folks on the other side of the aisle, he knew Senator blah blah blah, from Mississippi. He knew the guy's wife's name, the kids' names. He knew how old they were. He was prepared. And I don't always love some of the things that he did. I like some of them, for sure. Lyndon Baines
Oh,
Johnson did some great things, but I always admired just how focused and prepared this guy was to do the business of governing. And so
wow.
that for me that's number two. And number three, this was the hardest one, I'll be honest. There's a woman named Fawn Weaver. She is the founder and CEO of Uncle Nearest. It is a Tennessee whiskey. And she has created the fastest growing spirits brand on earth. Nobody has ever grown a company as fast, as big as this woman. She has a 5-woman leadership team, 3 of which, including herself, are women of color. She has, every time she hits a standard or a norm where they say, oh, you'll never be able to do it that way, she's like, no, I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to do it this way. And she goes 180 degrees in the other way and just destroys the competition. And it's just time after time after time. She created her 50-state strategy before she even had 2 states locked. And all the good old boys were like, no, that's not going to work. And next thing you know, like, she's just outpacing people. And so I love her. It doesn't hurt that I knew her back in like 2004 and 5. We worked together in a hotel when she wasn't a best-selling author and she wasn't the founder of this. She was a really focused woman who would come to me as the executive sous chef of the hotel, and she'd have these crazy banquet orders, and I'd be like, what are you doing? You're killing me. She's like, we're making money, baby. And that was it. And so I just love the fact that she was willing to do things her way. And really, she's no VC, no venture capital,
No venture capital. Wow.
none.
Wow.
And her company is valued at over $1.1 billion right now. So that's my 3 people.
That is a powerful board of directors sitting at your table. That's a great table. Okay. Last question, last but not least. At the leadership table, we believe in conversations that inspire, lead, and elevate. So as you think back through your past and your journey, we have lots of conversations, lots of great ones, lots of ones that do shape us. But what's one conversation in your career that profoundly shaped you as the leader you are today?
It's that conversation that I mentioned in the back in the sort of my story, right? It's going for the job where I want to be the leader. I want to be the executive chef of this cool, and I mean cool, little boutique hotel right in the center of Beverly Hills. And the lady says, and it's even in the same company that I already work for, I should be a shoo-in, right? And she says, no, you're a doer and I want a leader. That was the one. It was like, man, because I've got the skills. Like, I had the skills at that point. I could run that place. But she didn't want somebody just to come in and grind. She wanted somebody to elevate performance. She wanted somebody to lead. And I think for me, that's the one that really made me go, huh, okay, there's more to this. Pay attention. Focus. You understand what the big themes in my life are, right? Awareness, pay attention, and focus. But that's like the big conversation.
That would absolutely shape every single person. And I'm sure many people had similar conversations or moments that said, the way that I've been doing things got me here, but how I want to get there, I'm going to have to switch things up. And that's exactly what happened. And you created a huge success from it. So, Simon, before we wrap up, where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about your work?
Well, I think the easy one is LinkedIn. First name is Simon. Last name is Zatyrka. Z is in zebra. A, T is in Tom. Yrka. Zatyrka. Looks like hell. Sounds easy. I think the other one is probably just culinarymechanic.com. That'll get you to my podcast. That'll get you to my advisory and coaching page. That'll even get you to my email, and we can sit and have a talk at some point, if the timing is right. But yeah, that's how you find me. LinkedIn is my playground. I'm on Instagram too, though, like culinary.mechanic, and where you can see little snippets of me doing stuff like this, because it's fun. But yeah, I'm out here kicking it, just having fun, man.
Well, thank you so much. I know our listeners found this great. So today we have explored the journey of transforming kitchen operations and leadership with Simon Zatyrka. Simon, thank you for sharing your experiences and wisdom with us at the leadership table. To our listeners, if you found value in today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a fellow leader. You can also visit us at www.jasonebrooks.com for more leadership insights and resources. Until next time, keep leading with impact, and remember, manage, lead, coach, repeat. Thank you, Simon. Thank you.
Jason, as always, thank you so much. Have a great